Hello, and welcome to the session on getting started with Amazon Workspaces. My name is Navi McGee. I'm a Senior Solutions Architect with AWS. Today, we're going to discuss how you can deploy Amazon Workspaces. Have you ever wondered how to deploy Amazon Workspaces? Or what are some of the key decision points that you need to make when thinking about deploying it? Well, those are just some of the questions we're going to cover in today's session. Let's get started. What are some of the objectives we're going to see today? First, we're going to learn about how customers use Amazon Workspaces, our desktop as a service. We'll do a deep dive into Amazon Workspaces considerations, features, as well as security. We'll understand Amazon Workspaces design best practices, and we'll take a look at an Amazon Workspaces demo using our Windows offering. Next, we'll look at key takeaways. What's the gist of it? What's some of the things that you can take away today to share with your team? And finally, we'll conclude with some references that will be useful in designing and deploying Amazon Workspaces. Let's take a look at some of the advantages of using Amazon Workspaces. The first one is that it's a secure cloud desktop. It's a managed service, and you're able to centralize all of your important data there inside of the service itself, as well as connect to other resources in your customer VPC. The second part is that it's a variable cost model. You only pay for what's being consumed. If you need more resources, you can expand and scale out. If you need less, you can do so at any time, and there's no upfront costs. The third one is the ability to simply deploy and manage when needed. And this can be done through the AWS Management Console or programmatically. The fourth one is leverage existing infrastructure. You can leverage your current applications that you've already packaged and deployed internally and deploy them on Amazon Workspaces. And finally, it's a scalable and performant solution. We provide a wide array of options, a wide array of bundle types that can be used by your users, and you can select a mix of different options when needed. What are some of the key considerations when looking at Amazon Workspaces? Well, the first one is that it's available on any device. We have a native client that's available on a wide array of platforms, and that includes Windows, Mac OS, iPad OS, iOS, Chromebooks, Linux using Ubuntu 18.04 or later, and the list continues. When we look at the second one, the use of intranet resources, by means of connecting it through a site-to-site VPN or a direct connect connection, now your users who are using Amazon Workspace can connect to internal resources on premises. The third option is Microsoft AD, which is the core of the authentication and authorization system that we use here for Amazon Workspaces as well, but can be used in conjunction with your on-premises locations. So if you want to extend your ADDS environment into your customer VPC, you can do so. Or if you want to isolate it as well, that's also an option that's available to you. The fourth one is leveraging SCCM. If you currently have an SCCM environment today, you have multiple packages deployed. Now you can deploy these packages as well with Amazon Workspaces. And finally, certificate authority. If you have a PKI environment, if you want to deploy root certs as well, or machine certs into the service to control who has access to it as a verification check, that can also be done. Now, when we look at the security of Amazon Workspaces, there are a couple of key things to want to keep in mind. First is the ability to use MFA, and that's available for any Radius compatible solution. The next one is there's no company data on the device. Again, everything is centralized on the Amazon Workspace. Next, the ability to encrypt volumes. We always recommend to encrypt everything. And with Amazon Workspaces, you're definitely able to do that using our KMS service. And the last one here is the ability to have encrypted pixel strings, which is by default in the service. Again, security is job zero for us at AWS. And every segment of communication with the service is encrypted. Now, when we look at Amazon Workspaces, there are many things to keep in mind in terms of protocols as well as for networking. And one of the things is the ability to use the WorkSpaces streaming protocol. WSP is a cloud-native streaming protocol that enables a consistent user experience when accessing an end-user's workspace. And this can be used over global distances as well as unreliable network. Also, there's some additional features that are available as part of the new protocol. One is a beta feature for bidirectional video, as well as the use of smart cards. And this can be PIV or CSC cards. What are some of the best practices to deploying Amazon Workspaces? Well, there are 5 key areas that you consider. One of the key things is that with Amazon Workspaces, there are 2 options for operating systems with using Windows. One is the Windows Server 2016 option with the Windows 10 desktop experience, and the second one is a Windows 10 BYOL option. Additionally, we do have some other options for Amazon Linux too. Now, when we look at the first item here about right-sizing the bundle type, as I alluded to previously, there's a wide array of options for bundle types. And a bundle is just an allocation of vCPU and RAM for that particular instance. What is the right bundle type for your workload? Well, when you think about that, think about the operating system requirements, as well as all of the applications that will be running on a particular image to assist in determining which bundle you will select. But keep in mind, you're not tied to one specific bundle. If you want to move up or down the tier, you can easily do so as a self-service option or from the admin console. Additionally, we also have some graphic bundles if you like some dedicated GPU cards for your workloads. The second point here is regarding networking. How many addressable IPs are needed for your Workspaces deployment? And also, with Amazon Workspaces, the service itself spreads across multiple availability zones, and that provides the high availability and resiliency of the service. But think about how many IPs you'll need over the next year, and what's the percentage of growth that you will be forecasting. Those are some of the key things to keep in mind as well. The next part is the ability to manage the image. And the reason why you will manage the image is to install the applications you need to deploy to your users, provide patches, or provide Windows updates as well. And this can be done either through thick imaging, thin imaging, or a hybrid approach. With thin imaging, you're just including agents that you may have for streaming applications to the workspace. With thick imaging, you're including all of the key applications that will be used throughout the whole lifecycle of the instance. And then finally, the hybrid option is a mixture of the two. But when we look at image management, it's important to keep in mind that we allow the ability to easily update as well as deploy a new image to the users when needed. Again, as a self-service model that you can easily deploy from an administrative standpoint. The fourth one is verifying the running mode. Amazon Workspaces has 2 running modes, always on and auto stop. With always on, the instance is running 24/7, and for the user, they're instantly able to connect to the instance when authenticating. With auto stop, the instance or workspace is in an hibernate state based off a threshold that you designate, which can be 1 hour or 48 hours, and when a user authenticates, the instance is started, and it takes roughly around 60 seconds before they can start to use the instance. But just as we mentioned earlier, you're not tied to one particular bundle, nor are you tied to one particular running mode. You can easily toggle between the 2 options, either from a self-service option or from the admin console. The final option is directory services. That's the final key area for best practices. And there are 3 options available when thinking of directory services with Amazon Workspaces. One is using an Active Directory connector, which is a proxy that forwards all LDAP queries to a writable domain controller. The second one is the Managed Active Directory service that is provided by AWS as a managed option. And then the third one is a simple AD option, which is a Linux Samba 4 compatible AD environment. Which one is the best one for you? If you currently have an AD environment you would like to extend it into AWS, then you can extend your AD environment provide a different site and sites and services for the new environment inside of your customer VPC, and then use an Active Directory connector to point to those domain controllers. There are many options available in many scenarios. In the references section, you'll see an option for the best practices guide for deploying Amazon Workspaces. Inside there, you'll have more information on the best practices to deploy multiple scenarios for Amazon Workspaces with directory services. Now let's take a look at a Workspaces demo using our Windows offering. As you notice in the top right corner, we're located in the North Virginia region. Let's get started with this demo by clicking on Get Started Now. We have two options for a setup with Amazon Workspaces, the Quick Setup and Advanced Setup. For this example, we're going to use Advanced Setup. Click Launch. When deploying Amazon Workspaces, you have three different options for directory types. You have the AWS Managed Microsoft AD, Simple AD, as well as an Active Directory connector. For this example, we're going to use the Active Directory Managed AD. For the directory type, you have two different options. You have the Standard Edition, as well as Enterprise Edition. We're going to use Standard. Next, we need to enter an organization name. You can provide your own organization name or one that you will use for the lab. For this example, we're going to use Demo Corp 1 for our demo. Afterwards, for a directory DNS name, let's enter in democorp1.com. We can scroll to the bottom and add in the admin password, and then we'll go ahead and confirm the password as well. Once everything has been inserted, let's go and click on Next. Here we can select the VPC that will be used for the Workspaces deployment. I've created one specifically for this demo, but you should also create one for your Amazon Workspaces deployment as well. For subnets, we'll select two private subnets that will be used for the deployment. It will be Private Subnet 1 as well as Private Subnet 2. Let's click Next. Let's go and review the information that will be used for the deployment, and then we'll select Create Directory. Now the directory creation process takes up to 25 to 30 minutes. And as you see in the status here on the right side, it says requested. But if you click on refresh, it'll change to a creating status, and then with about 20 to 25 minutes, it will change to an active state. Once we have the active state, we need to register a directory. Select a directory, click on Actions, and click on Register Directory. We need to select two subnets that will be used for the directory. We will use the same subnets we selected on the previous option, the same private subnets, Private 1 as well as Private Subnet number 2. There's also an option to enable self-service permissions. We'll leave the default setting there and click Register. Now the status has changed to registering. If we refresh in a few seconds, it will change to a yes that has been successfully registered. Now that the Workspace directory has been registered, let's launch some Workspaces. Click on Workspaces on the left side. And then here we're going to click on Launch Workspaces. We'll select our directory we created, click Next Step. And here we're going to create at least two users for our demo. The first one will be WS User 1. We'll fill in the information for that user. And also we'll add in an email address for the user. After that's done, we'll go ahead and repeat that step and create a second user. And we'll call the second user WS User 2. And you can go ahead and insert the information for your test user as well. Once all the information has been entered, we'll create users. Also, if we had users already created in our AD environment, we can show all users and select them. But here we have our users and we'll click on Next Step. Now we're going to select a bundle. We'll go ahead and select Public Bundles. And then next, we'll go ahead and sort all of the available bundle types by the hardware type of performance. We'll select Performance with Windows 10. And then here you notice at the bottom, we can choose the volume size. We'll keep the defaults of 80 gigs and 100 gigs for the user volume, but we also have a wide array of options available as you see here. Now let's click Next Step. Here at the top, we have the running mode. We can toggle between always on or auto stop. With auto stop, you have an option to choose between 1 to 48 hours for the threshold, but we'll leave it at the default for now. And then under encryption, we can encrypt both volumes and use KMS for the encryption key. We'll leave those unchecked for the demo. Now click Next Step. Review the information and click Launch WorkSpaces. As you notice, the status is now pending. And if you notice towards the top, it says that the workspace can take up to 20 minutes to deploy. So let's go ahead and wait a few minutes and refresh. Now we see that it's changed to available status. And now we can log on to the workspace. But first, we need to change the user password. Let's go to Directories, Directory Service, select a directory. And we'll click on Reset User Password and insert WS User 1. And we'll enter in a new password for that user. And we'll confirm it as well and click on Reset Password. Let's go back to the Workspaces console. And now we need to grab the registration code for WS User 1. We'll expand the dropdown. We'll look for the registration code. And you go ahead and highlight that information and save it to a clipboard or to Notepad. Now what we need to do is we need to launch the Amazon Workspaces client. Go ahead and launch the client. And we'll drag it over onto the screen. We'll go ahead and copy and paste that info there and click on Continue. Now we'll enter in our username, WSUser1, and the password we just set. As you notice, you're able to log on to the workspace within a few seconds. Let's go ahead and maximize the screen for the client. So we have a full screen view. And within a few seconds, you have a full desktop. And this is your Amazon Workspace. Now we can interact with this desktop just like we would any other desktop we had. We can open up Windows Explorer and go through different directories, but also want to highlight some features of the Amazon Workspaces client. At the top, you have the option to disconnect or restart the workspace. Under View, you can send Control-Alt-Delete or into full screen on all displays. Settings, we can manage the login info or also use high proxy settings. Also, we can set it to a high display mode. We also have the option to change the language. Let me go back to the other one. Change the language. Instead of English, we can choose from the list here. Let's see it in action, changing it to Spanish and saving that setting. And as you notice at the top, it automatically changes the language. Let's go and change it back. The next option is to change the compute type. We can go up or down the options here between Value to Power Pro. We can change the disk size as well. So we can increase it up to 2 terabytes, as we mentioned previously. We can switch to running mode from always on and auto stop. And then finally, we have the option to rebuild the workspace. If anything goes wrong, we can always revert back to the gold image that was used, and it will also preserve the user volume. So as you see, those are just a few key options that you have inside of Amazon Workspaces. Through this demo, you're able to see the provisioning process. You're able to see how to select your VPC, your subnets, create a directory, launch a couple of workspaces, create user accounts as well, and also some of the key features of the client. So how do you get started? Well, here's some of the key references that you can use in planning and designing your Amazon Workspaces deployment. Getting started with Amazon Workspaces as an admin guide, best practices for deploying Amazon Workspaces, which is a white paper that goes off multiple scenarios regarding Active Directory, best practices for VPCs and networking, how are you going to size the VPC based off of what's needed for addressable IPs, a Workspaces streaming protocol, the new protocol that's released that enables bidirectional video as well as smart card support And finally, Amazon WorkSpaces Cost Optimizer, another solution that assists with providing the most cost-effective solution or option for each instance. Again, my name is Navi McGee. Thank you for joining the session today.